Come, sit with me. We have wandered far in the outside world, haven't we? Always looking, always searching, but today, let us sit not to search, but to remember. There is a difference between seeking and remembering. Seeking makes you run outward. Remembering turns you inward. Today, I will tell you a story, not just one of words, but one of your own life, a story of the four travelers who live inside you, the soul, the ego, the spirit, and the body. They live within you, but they do not always walk hand in hand. Sometimes they argue, sometimes they lead you in different directions, and when they do, your path becomes unclear, your heart confused. Let us begin with the body, the most familiar companion. It is your home in this world. It feels hunger. It feels pain. It desires comfort. And yet, though it carries you everywhere, it is not truly you. The body is your vessel, not your identity. It is like the boat that carries the fisherman across the ocean, but too often, we think we are the boat. We pamper it, decorate it, obsess over it, even fear its decay, and yet, the body is just passing. Temporary, a tool. One of my early lessons as a young monk was this: if you wear your body like armor, you will always be heavy. If you wear it like a robe, it will move with the wind. Then there is the ego, the trickster, the loudest. Of the four, the ego is not evil, it is afraid. It is born from the mind's need to protect and define. It wants to be someone. It says, I am a teacher, I am successful, I am better, or sometimes I am not enough. Whether high or low, the ego always speaks in identities. But the truth is, you are not what you do, you are not your title. The ego builds walls between you and others. It is the voice that whispers, what will they think of me? Or I must win to be worthy. I remember once, during my early years in silence, I struggled to let go of my past achievements. I held onto them like medals pinned to an invisible shirt. One night, while sweeping the temple floor, I wept, not from sadness, but from the sheer release of finally letting go. A senior monk saw me and said, the ego dies 100 small deaths before the soul can truly live. Now, let us meet the spirit. The spirit is subtle. It is the wind behind the flame. It is the breath you forget. You're breathing while the body is seen and the ego is heard. The spirit is felt. Your spirit carries your energy, your life force. Some call it Kai, others prana, or simply the essence. It connects you to the world around you. When you walk into a room and feel peace without words, that is the spirit moving. When you sense something is wrong without seeing proof, that, too, is the spirit. The spirit is not burdened by the ego. It is the river of feeling beneath the surface. A monk once told me, the spirit whispers. Only silence can hear it. That is why stillness is so sacred. It tunes the ear of the soul. And finally, the most mysterious of all, the soul. The soul is not born, nor does it die. It is the eternal witness. It is who you were before your name, before your fears, before even your first breath. The soul is the flame itself. It remembers, it knows, it does not shout, but it speaks with clarity. If the body carries you, the ego defines you, the spirit energizes you, then the soul reminds you. When you sit by a quiet lake and suddenly feel tears without knowing why. When a sunset stirs something ancient in your chest, when you feel that there is more to life than this rush, that is your soul knocking. You are not just flesh, not just thought, not just energy, you are soul. Everything else is borrowed. So, how do these four parts live together? It is like a chariot drawn by four horses. If one runs faster than the others, the chariot turns, even crashes, but when the soul leads, the others fall in harmony. The ego serves rather than controls, the spirit flows. The body moves with grace. The secret is not to destroy the ego or deny the body, but to understand each part and allow the soul to be the guide. Let me share a moment from my past. There was a time when I wished to leave the monastery. My ego said, you could be more, you could do more. My body was tired of the routine. My spirit felt restless. But in a single moment of silence, I asked, who am I beneath all this noise? And in that sacred space, my soul replied, not in words, but in stillness. It said, you are already what you seek. We often try to improve the body, polish the ego, energize the spirit, but we forget to listen to the soul. The soul does not need fixing, it only needs remembering. So today, take a deep breath with me. Inhale, feel the body. Exhale, quiet the ego. Pause, listen to the spirit. And now, sit still and let the soul speak. You don't need to chase purpose. You only need to come home. This is the first page of our journey. In the pages that follow, we will go deeper into each of these four sacred companions. We will explore the traps of the ego, the wisdom of the body, the flight of the spirit, and the ancient truths of the soul. Together, we will untangle the knots and return to the center of ourselves. But for now, reflect on this. Who is leading your chariot? Let this question linger in your mind as we pause here. And when you're ready, come with me to the next chapter, where we will explore the masks of the ego and how to gently remove them one by one. So, you've returned. That means your soul is listening. And that is a beautiful beginning. In our last moment together, I asked, who is leading your chariot? And if you sat with that question long enough, you may have felt the subtle pull of the ego, quick to answer, quick to assert. The ego always wants to be first, it wants to be someone, and yet, when we truly begin our journey inward, we must gently remove the many masks the ego wears, not to destroy it, but to understand it. Because you cannot disarm what you do not recognize. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, when I first came to the monastery, I thought I was ready. I had read many books, practiced meditation, and believed I had already left the world behind. I believed I had no ego left. That was, ironically, my greatest illusion. One morning, my teacher asked me to scrub the stone steps outside the shrine. I did it joyfully. The next day, again. The third day, again and again, for weeks at first. I smiled, then I grew frustrated. Why always me? My thoughts whispered. Others get to study sutras, others get more respect. One evening, I could take no more. I went to my teacher and said, Master, have I not proven my dedication? Why do I keep scrubbing stones while others study sacred texts? He looked at me for a long while. Then he said, until you can scrub the stone with the same devotion you'd give a scripture, your ego still leads. That night, I sat under the stars in silence, and I saw the ego doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hides beneath pride, sometimes beneath spiritual ambition. It wants recognition even for humility. You see, the ego wears many masks. The mask of the achiever, always striving, always needing to win. The mask of the victim, always pointing to pain and waiting for sympathy. The mask of the helper, giving only to be seen as good. The mask of the intellectual, needing to be right, even when silent. And perhaps the most dangerous, the mask of the spiritual, where the ego hides behind robes and rituals, pretending to be free, but a mask, no matter how sacred, still hides the truth. Let me ask you this, when you feel triggered, slighted, overlooked, what part of you reacts? It is not your soul. The soul does not compete. The soul does not compare. The soul does not fear being misunderstood. It is the ego that flinches. The ego that needs to explain, defend, control, and if you live without watching it, the ego becomes the puppeteer, and you, the puppet. But the ego isn't an enemy, it is simply afraid. It was born in childhood, shaped by wounds, built from your desire to be safe and loved. It is like a child who never grew up, still seeking validation from a world that is also lost. So, what do? We do not shame the ego, we do not fight it, we sit with it like an old friend. We say, I see you. I understand why you're here, but you are not my master anymore. The practice is simple, though not easy. Awareness, gentle awareness. When you are praised, watch what arises. When you are insulted, watch again. When you are ignored, overlooked, misunderstood, breathe, witness the ego rising, and let it pass like a wave that no longer needs to crash. In time, the ego softens. It becomes quiet, and it begins to serve rather than rule. There is a deeper power in humility than in any title the ego can wear, because humility does not mean thinking less of yourself, it means thinking of yourself less. In the monastery, we often say, the highest mountain is the quietest one. True greatness is silent. It does not need applause. It does not need a stage. It simply is. And when you begin to let go of the ego's need to be seen, you begin to truly see. You see beauty in the unnoticed. You feel peace in simplicity. You begin to walk through life not as someone desperate to be something, but as someone already whole. Now, let us return to the four travelers within you. The body serves as your vehicle. The spirit moves like breath through your life. The ego tries to define the journey, but the soul is the map, the compass, and the destination. When the ego becomes quiet, the soul becomes audible. So the question becomes, how can we live from the soul while still carrying the ego and body? How do we build a life that honors all parts of us without letting the loudest part lead? That, my friend, is where the next part of our journey begins. In the next page, we will explore the spirit, the bridge between the soul and the world. We will learn how to move through life with presence, how to feel energy, how to listen to the world's silent messages. We will walk into the invisible and come back stronger. So before you go, I ask you to reflect. What masks have you worn? And who are you without them? Sit with this, let it steep in your heart like tea in still water. And when you're ready, you have returned again, and I welcome you. Not just with words, but with presence, because what we are about to speak of now can only be understood through presence. Today, we speak of the spirit, the invisible bridge between the seen and the unseen, the silent thread that connects your body to your soul. The spirit is not something you own. It is something you are when the mind is still. It is not what you think, nor what you say. It is what you feel in moments of absolute truth. If the body is your form, And the ego is your mask. The spirit is the breath that moves through both, unseen, untouched, but deeply real. You can feel it right now. Take a moment, breathe in slowly, now breathe out. That stillness between breath, that quiet awareness behind your thoughts, that is the spirit awakening. There is a saying from my teacher, the soul is like a candle, but the spirit is the flame. Without the spirit, the soul cannot be seen. In this world, it is the spirit that animates you, energizes you, gives you movement, vitality. Intuition, it is the messenger between soul and body. It delivers the soul's wisdom into the world through energy, sensation, emotion, even synchronicity. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt uncomfortable, even though nothing was said? That was your spirit sensing energy. Have you ever felt drawn to someone without knowing why? That too is spirit recognizing spirit. The spirit speaks in feelings, not words, in energy, not logic. And yet, most people ignore it. Why? Because the world is too loud. The ego shouts, the body craves. The world pulls us from all directions. But the spirit does not fight to be heard, it simply waits for you to listen. You've likely felt the spirit many times in your life, but dismissed it. Perhaps you've had an intuitive nudge not to trust someone and later realized it was right. Perhaps you felt a strange peace in nature, like the trees were speaking, and the sky was embracing you. Or maybe you've felt bursts of inspiration that came from nowhere, urging you to act, create, love, forgive. That's the spirit guiding. That's the bridge activating. In the monastery, there was a practice we followed once each week, walking. Meditation in silence, barefoot across the forest floor. We were not allowed to speak or even look at one another, and yet somehow we were more connected than ever. Our spirits moved together, breathed together. One brother would pause, and without knowing why, we would all stop. No words, just a shared rhythm. That is spirit, to move not with effort, but with alignment. To flow with life instead of pushing against it. But this flow does not come through striving. It comes through trust. It comes through letting go. You do not control the spirit like a machine. You surrender to it like a river. You do not command. If you join it. There are times in life when your ego will say, take control. But your spirit will whisper, trust the unfolding. Let me ask you something. What are you trying to control right now? What outcome? What person? What story? And what if, just what if, your spirit already knows a better path? Sometimes we are so busy building a future with our minds that we forget to live in the present with our spirit. But life, real life, only exists here, now. The more in tune you are with your spirit, the more you begin to live with intuition. You stop chasing and you start aligning. You stop forcing and you begin flowing. The monk's path is not about withdrawal, it is about alignment. Alignment with the soul through the energy of the spirit, expressed through the actions of the body, guided gently past the illusions of the ego. The four travelers again, and now clearer. The body walks, the ego interprets, the spirit feels, the soul knows. And when these four move as one, life becomes not just a journey, but a dance. Now, my dear friend, I ask you, when was the last time you trusted your spirit? When was the last time you let go of logic and followed knowing? Try this. Next time you feel confused, do not reach first for answers. Sit in stillness, listen not with your ears, but with your energy. Let the spirit rise from within. Without pressure, without fear, without demand. And then move with that feeling. Even if it doesn't make sense, especially then, because the spirit often leads you not where the ego wants, but exactly where the soul needs. In the next chapter, we will meet the final traveler once more, the soul, but now with deeper clarity. We will speak not of its definition, but of its destiny, of why you are here, of what this life is asking of you, of the deeper call that has followed you since birth and will follow you beyond this lifetime. So for now, I invite you to breathe. Once more, inhale, feel your body, exhale, quiet your ego. Pause and listen to the flow of your spirit. It is speaking to you, not in words, but in presence. And when you're ready, now, we arrive at the heart of the journey. We have listened to the body, faced the ego, awakened the spirit, and now, we enter the sacred presence of the soul. But let me be clear, this is not a lesson. This is a reminder, because you do not need to find your soul, you only need to remember it. You were born with it. You were born as it, before you were called by your name, your gender, your roles, before the world taught you what to chase, what to fear, and who to become. You were simply this awareness, essence, light. The soul is not an idea, it is not a belief, it is not something you can hold. It is what remains when everything else falls away. When the ego is silent, when the body is still, when the spirit flows freely, the soul begins to speak, but it does not use words. It speaks in truths you've always known but forgotten. Let me tell you something my master once whispered to me when I was in great doubt. The soul does not shout. It is patient, like a mountain. It will wait lifetimes for you to remember it. I once asked him, if the soul is eternal, why do we feel so lost? He smiled and said, Because we are walking with our back to the sun, the light never left. You simply forgot to turn around. This forgetting, it is part of the human experience, to be born, to forget, and then to remember. It is the great dance of awakening. You see, the soul is not in the body is within the soul. This whole life you live, this identity, this mind, this experience, it is like a ripple in the ocean of your soul. When you experience beauty that brings tears, when you forgive someone who hurt you deeply, when you feel a connection to a stranger without reason, when you sense you've been somewhere before in another life, that's the soul saying you are more than this moment. But the soul does not just speak to remind you of the past, it guides you toward your destiny. Yes, you have one, not necessarily a job, a title, or a grand external mission, but a sacred rhythm only your soul can dance to, a unique expression of love, of presence, of truth that only you can live. Some souls come here to teach, some to heal, some to serve, some to simply hold light in dark places, but all souls come here to grow too. Remember themselves through contrast. Even your pain, even your failures are part of the soul's learning. They are not punishments, they are passages. The soul is not afraid of falling, it is afraid of not rising. In my early years as a monk, I used to fear making mistakes. I thought I had to be perfect to be spiritual. But the soul is not interested in perfection, it is interested in authenticity. Your tears are as sacred as your joy. Your doubts are just doors to deeper truth, and your scars are the carvings where light enters. So how do you live from the soul? The answer is not found in books, not even in these words. It is found in presence, right here, right now. You return to the soul every time you choose stillness over distraction. Speak from truth, not from fear. Love without needing to be loved in return. Let go, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Forgive not because they deserve it, but because your soul deserves peace. The soul has no enemies, only mirrors. Everything in your life is a reflection of what the soul has chosen to see, feel, heal, and transform. One of my favorite teachings says, the soul grows not by adding more, but by removing what is not truly you. So maybe the question is not, what must I become, but instead, what am I ready to release? Are you ready to let go of the person the world told you to be, the expectations, the noise, the false identities? Because beneath it all, you are already whole, already worthy, already divine. Let me leave you with this. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in, and now breathe out slowly. Ask yourself, who am I when I'm not trying to be anyone? That is your soul. In our next and final core chapter, page 5, we will bring all four parts together. We will explore the integration of the soul, ego, spirit, and body. How to live with balance, with harmony. How to walk the world not in fragments, but as a whole being grounded, aligned, and illuminated from within. This next chapter is where the journey becomes life. But until then, stay in this space. Let the words fall away. Let the silence remain. And if you can sit in that silence, even for just a moment, you are home. Now, we arrive at the center, not just the center of this journey, but the center of you. You have walked with me through the valleys of the body, through the illusions of the ego, the breath of the spirit, and the silence of the soul. And now, it is time to bring them together, to integrate. Because what good is wisdom if it is not lived? What good is awakening if we still move through the world asleep? This is the sacred task, to live not as fragments, but as wholeness. The world teaches us separation. It divides everything, body against mind, spirit against science, soul against society. But these are not enemies, they are instruments meant to play in harmony. Let me share something a senior monk once told me as we sat beneath this fairy tree. True peace is not when the mind is empty. It is when all parts of you agree to move in the same direction. That direction must be chosen by the soul. Let's look again at the four travelers. The body, it is the sacred vehicle. It needs care, not obsession. It needs rest, nourishment, movement, and breath. The body is not your burden, it is your temple. When you treat it with respect, it supports your spiritual path. When ignored, it cries through illness. So walk with your body, not against it. The ego no longer the ruler, but now the servant. When tamed, it becomes a powerful tool. It helps you set boundaries, speak your truth, and walk with dignity. The ego is the flame that, when uncontrolled, burns, but when held steady, it warms and lights the way. So speak to your ego gently and let it serve the soul, the spirit, your connection to everything. It is the river that flows through your body and links you to all life. It feels what the mind cannot. It senses what the eyes do not. To nurture the spirit, you must pause, listen, and flow, dance, breathe, be in nature. Let your life be a rhythm, not a race. So flow with your spirit, don't try to bottle it. And the soul, your eternal identity. The purest part of you, your soul knows what this life is for. It doesn't chase because it remembers, it doesn't scream because it knows. And when you surrender to the wisdom of your soul, every other part of you begins to relax, to trust, To follow, you may ask me, how do I walk this world while holding all four? Let me offer you what I live by. 1. Begin each day in silence, before the world rushes and sit. Just sit, breathe, listen, let your soul speak before the ego awakens. 2. Honor your body with presence, drink water as a ritual, walk with awareness. Eat with gratitude. When your body is respected, it becomes your ally. 3. Catch your ego gently. When you feel offended, insecure, boastful, or afraid, pause, ask, who is speaking right now? Don't fight the ego, just don't feed it. 4. Follow the flow of your spirit. Say yes to the quiet inner nudges. Say no when something feels misaligned, even if it's logical. Energy never lies. 5. Return to the soul, again and again. When you are lost, overwhelmed, or unsure, step away from the noise. Close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and simply ask, what is true? Living in integration does not mean you will never fall. It means when you do fall, all parts of you rise together. Even monks are not perfect. I have stumbled. I have doubted. I have cried alone in the dark corners of my being. But every time, it was my soul that picked me up, not by force, but with stillness. Integration is a practice, a return, a remembering, and in this moment, perhaps you too are remembering who you were before fear, before ambition, before distraction. You are remembering your nature, your depth, your wholeness. Let me leave you with one more story. From the life of my master when he was very old and nearing the end of his life. A student asked him, Master, what is the most important teaching you've learned? He smiled, closed his eyes, and said that the body is my ground, the ego is my challenge, the spirit is my path, and the soul is my home. And when I let all four walk together, I need nothing else. You see, my friend, you are not lost. You are just returning to balance, returning to the center, returning to yourself. And as you continue forward in life, may your body walk lightly, your ego walk humbly, your spirit walk freely, and your soul walk deeply. Because that is how we live, not just wisely, but wholeheartedly. This concludes the 5th part of our journey together, but there is still one final step in the final chapter. We will explore what it means to transcend, to rise above while still rooted. We'll speak of death, rebirth, and the legacy of a soul-led life. It will be the monk's final lesson in this series, and perhaps the most sacred of all. But for now, pause, let this settle, let your being breathe. And when you are ready, this is the final chapter. And yet, my dear friend, it is not an end, it is a return. You have walked far, not in distance but in depth. You have met the body, understood the ego, awakened the spirit, and remembered the soul. Now, we arrive at what lies beyond all of them: transcendence. Transcendence is not escape. It is not floating away into the sky or denying your humanity. It is simply this: to live fully within the world without being of it, to dance with the illusion without forgetting the truth, to die before death, and be reborn into presence. Let me tell you what I mean. There is a moment on every true path where the seeker realizes there is nothing left to seek. The outer world cannot give you what the soul already is. You are not here to become anything. You are here to uncover what you've always been. Transcendence happens not in temples or mountaintops. It happens in kitchens, in hospitals, in traffic, in silence before sleep. It happens the moment you drop the need to prove, to perform, to possess, and instead, you rest in being. It happens when you sit beside someone who is hurting and don't try to fix them, just be with them. It happens when you feel pain and instead of running, you bow to it and say, teach me. It happens when you look at your life not with judgment but with compassion and say, even this was part of the path. That is transcendence. 2. Hold your body with care, but know you are not it, to watch your ego arise, but smile at its fear without giving it power, to let the spirit move you, but not cling to any feeling. And to live from the soul, not as a role but as a return to who you've always been. I have known many people who chase spiritual experiences, visions, powers, ecstasies. But the deepest awakening is often found in the ordinary, in the moment. You truly taste your food, in the way you watch a child laugh, in the breath you take when no one is watching, in the moment you forgive yourself. This is how a soul lives awake. And yes, one day, this body will return to the earth, the breath will cease, the ego will fall silent. The spirit will dissolve into the infinite, but the soul continues, because the soul is not in time. It is eternal presence before birth, after death, always now. You don't need to fear death when you've already learned how to die each day. To die to your illusions, to die to your false self, to die to your stories, and be reborn each morning in truth, simplicity, and love. In the monastery, we have a prayer we whisper each night before sleep. It goes, let me die before I die, so that when I die, I do not die. Do you understand? The one who clings to identity, to form, to control must die many painful deaths. But the one who lets go lives forever in peace. So now, my friend, let this journey not stay as words, let it become your life, let your steps be sacred. Let your presence be prayer. Let your breath be a blessing. Let your love be your legacy. Because one day, the people you meet will not remember your name or your job or your possessions. They will remember how they felt in your presence. And if you live from your soul, they will feel peace. They will feel home. They will feel God. You are not just a person walking this earth. You are a soul wrapped in flesh, animated by spirit, humbled by ego, grounded in body, moving through a divine play to remember the truth. And now, you remember. So breathe. Stand slowly and walk gently back into the world, but this time, walk as one who knows, walk as one who sees, walk as one who remembers. I bow to you. Thank you for joining me on this sacred journey. If this message touched your heart, share it with another soul. Let us awaken together.